Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Very, very excited to be here. This is actually one of my favorite presentations, usually because of it's the brand new year. It's one of the biggest topics, one of the biggest goals. A lot of people tell me, of course, is one of their New Year's resolutions is to get out of debt, right? So we're gonna talk about some tips and tools we've learned along the way. Lots of information for you. I can also, at the end, even though we are recording this, I can also send you the slides if you like later on it as well. So again, my name is Ruth Kaneko. I'm with BECU. Hopefully you all know what BECU is. I've been with BECU now for about 12 years in the financial industry, actually. And so very excited to do this. We get to do things like this, bring this fun financial information to everybody. Lots of topics like budgeting, getting out of debt, home buying, things like that. But today, I hope you all have a nice cup of tea or coffee or water beside you. And we are going to dive into 10 tips to reduce debt. So, if you are anything like me, I was in debt up to my eyeballs right after college and swimming in it, getting all pruny, and thought to myself, oh my goodness, girl, you need to get out of debt. You need to figure this out. And there was never, I wish there was a magic wand that was like, okay, we're good, let's go, it's all taken care of. Unfortunately, I had to, like many people, you have to claw your way out, but we're going to kind of go over kind of some tips to how to do that. But kind of the first thing I really want to look at is figuring out how we got there in the first place, right? And a lot of times people are like, well, I spent too much. Well, obviously, right? I mean, that's the obvious answers. We spent too much. I know I did. But how did I get there? What does my spending habits look like? A lot of times when we get into debt or we use credit, one of the things we forget to do is put a plan around it, right? How are we going to use this credit to enhance our lives instead of getting into too much debt to detract it, right? So we're going to kind of look at how did we actually get into debt in the first place? So I want to kind of look at a few different warning signs of trouble of when we know that, hey, maybe we have gotten ourselves in a little too much debt. And maybe today you're just here to be like, I'm not that much into debt. I just want to kind of look at ways to kind of tweak my budget, right? To really look at my debt in a different way. So let me ask you that question first. Where are you all at in the debt kind of process? Are you in over your eyeballs? Are you just you really need help getting out? Are you in that kind of phase where you just kind of push the envelope? You're kind of wishing they would up the limit on the credit cards, maybe make it a little easier. Where are you at in the credit process? Go ahead and tell me in the chat. Where are you at in the credit process? If you feel comfortable, feel free to do that. It kind of gives me a good idea of where you all are at too. But also, drowning in medical debt. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm always nearly out and then get sucked back into the credit card debt. Yes. Um, I'd like to lower my credit card debt, buy a new home. I love that. I've gotten used to using credit cards. Yes. Still have room on credit, but have enough debt to make me sweat. Oh my goodness, I love you all. These are great, honest answers. Student loan debt. Yes, I'm seeing that a lot. Oh my goodness, absolutely. Um, and that is usually, I don't know about you, but I hope you can relate. My biggest thing when I was looking at trying to get out of debt was that I would have this credit card, and there was I would always maxed out, but I would pay the minimum payment because that's what I could afford. And oh, I love this. One person saying no debt, but great credit score took, but the credit score took a nosedive. Oh yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that too. Um, One person was, applying to grad school, so I want to learn how not to amass debt once I'm enrolled. All right, thank you again for putting that in there. These are really good. So when I had always maxed my credit cards out, and what I would do is I would make the minimum payment and think, okay, don't use that. You made the minimum payment. It's 50 bucks. You have 50 bucks available to you, but don't think about it. No, no, no. No, you don't have that available to you, Ruth. You are just going to pay it off. Of course, what did I do? Next time I went shopping, I pulled that credit card out because I forgot to budget and figure out how much I could use on different things. And I totally maxed that card out again, right? I used it. I kept thinking, well, I'm paying off my credit cards. Oh yeah, absolutely. But they would always eke back up because I wouldn't make a dramatic decision to stop using them, right? There are a lot of schools of thought of getting out of debt. Good, and we're going to go through a couple of those. Some people I know cut up their credit cards. They say I actually had to do that. I had to literally cut up my credit cards so I wouldn't use them, so I could pay them down. It was painful. But to me, I knew I had to do that because I would keep using it. So What are some of the warning signs of being in trouble with debt? Well, missed late payments are always a given, right? If you're missing some late payment or if you're missing some payments, you have some late payments there. Now, everybody has a few late payments. That's normal. But if you keep consistently missing them, that's a kind of a warning sign that you're in over your head with your debt. Taking cash advances on your credit cards. Did y'all ever get the PIN number when you got your credit card? That is an interesting thing. I remember getting that and just throwing it away or shredding it because I thought I don't need a PIN number for my credit card, and then I realized why I got a PIN number because you can number one, take cash advances and other things too with that PIN. But another warning sign might be using credit to pay bills. A lot of times, again, I found myself in this area as well where I was using my credit card to pay for gas, right, and to pay for my electric bill, thinking, oh, I'll pay it off, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. Never did, right? It just kept coming, just kept piling up. Paying only the minimum payment. Yes, guilty. Using credit when you used to use cash. Applying for more credit when you reach your credit limit. Who is guilty of that? I know I was. If you want to raise your hand, please don't let me be alone. But raise your hand if you. Thank you. Thank you. Good, honest people. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, applying for more credit. You can reach that $3,000 limit. Then you're like, oh, if I only had more, I would, I would, I would not use it. That was the thought, right? If I only had more, I'm not going to use it. Oh, please. What do? As soon as we get that limit increase, boom! Oh yeah, let's go shopping, right? And we tell ourselves we have great intentions, right? Our intentions are fantastic. We're follow through, not so much. So, regularly transferring balances from one card to another. Now, I am amazed at some people who can do this. I can't do this. I know some people who can, the rate transfer people with their credit cards. Oh, there's a 0% interest for 6 months. I'm just going to transfer this amount to another card, this amount to another card. But think about this. If you didn't have any balance in your card, you wouldn't have to do that, right? If you're lower than that, you would need to do that. You wouldn't have to play that game. So the thing with that, the thing with credit, is you want to play your game. You don't want to play the credit card company's games. You don't want to play their games at all because they're going to keep throwing you reasons to get more in debt, right? So let's kind of chat about this too. Now, experts say, this is kind of interesting to me because this helped me a lot. Financial management is 20% knowledge and skills and 80% behavior. So what that means is that you can come to as many webinars and classes, whatever you want to learn about financial education, to learn about finances. But if you don't apply it, it's not going to do much at all, right? So 20% is knowledge. You're gaining all this knowledge, but if you don't apply that knowledge, then it's not like, oh, great, wonderful, okay, fantastic. So it's applying this knowledge that you've learned. So again, what you want to do first of all when you're thinking about your debt is recognizing your spending habits. How did you get there? Are you an impulse shopper? Do you just go to the store and you see, or around the holidays? Okay, come on, peoples. You're in line at the store, and especially those department stores or someplace, and there's like the 10 for 10, buckets on the side. Oh, they're so good to it's just $10. It's just $10, and then $10 becomes $50, and you're like, oh, but I need these pair of clippers or something like that. You didn't really need them. You have two at home. You just can't find them. You're just looking around for them, which you know what I'm talking about. So are you an impulse shopper? Are you an emotional shopper? I just had a baby and I've gained some weight, not gonna lie, right? And I'm like, I just need to go buy some more clothes that maybe fit me right now because I'm not feeling too good about myself. I'm not gonna lie, emotional shopping is a big thing. Buy now, pay later. Are you in that camp where you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy it now and I'm going to, just worry about it as soon as I graduate or as soon as I have that house, I'll start worrying about it, right? Spending more than we earn. No need to talk about that. And there's spending, spending, spending. So you want to figure out the spending habit that you're in so you can kind of start to change that behavior for sure. So my first question to you all is, what is your spending black hole? And what I mean by that is, where all your money goes? And I don't mean like things that are bad for you, right? Those are the things you probably want to cut out anyways. But I'm talking like Starbucks or like things you put on a credit card, shoes. My coworker would be shoes. Is it maybe food? What do you put on your credit cards that you're like, oh, I wish I didn't put that on there, but I really want this item? Tell me in the chat. Oh, you all are good. You're already Uber Eats. Yes. Yep. Oh, moving to a new state, all purchases. Oh yeah, home decor. Can I just give a shout out to Home Goods? I hate to love that store because there's way too much fun stuff in there. Amazon. Can I? Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. Planner, sticker, and accessories. Oh my goodness, I love that. Amazon for sure. Seeing lots of shoes. Yep, shoes, Amazon, planner stickers, totally. So thank you again for talking about this. Yes, these are our spending black holes. So you know where your money's going, right? You know exactly how we get ourselves in trouble. So let's kind of dive into planning for success. So if we know where our money goes and where we are most likely to spend when we don't really need to, mostly just on our wants, the whole argument you have with ourselves of do we really need it or do we just want it, or we just kind of put that side away and be like, I'm not even going to think about it, I'm just going to get it, right? So this whole thing about planning for success, especially when we're thinking about getting out of debt, is one of the biggest things, and this isn't a budgeting course, but budgeting is really essential when you're thinking about getting out of debt because you want to know, first of all, what are your priorities when you're starting to look at your budget, right? One of the biggest things when we talk about budgets or setting up a budget is your financial goals, right? And if your goal is to get out of debt, maybe your budget's going to look a lot different. Maybe it's instead of going out 3 times a week or getting Uber Eats 3 times a week, it's going to be buying food, making it at home, and putting that extra money towards my debt, right? To knock that stuff out. So it's all depending. So there are lots of times I want you guys to think about your financial goals, but really, when you're thinking about those goals, I want you to think about your goals in terms of time frame, because there's a saying that everybody says is, so well, someday I'm going to get out of debt, or someday I'm going to take a vacation or lose 50 pounds, whatever I'm going to do. But for some reason, someday doesn't happen very, very quickly or very often. Because why? Because we don't put a plan around it. It just we kind of leave it up to chance, right? So what I want you to do is when you are setting your goals, and specifically when you're looking at getting out of debt, I want you to put it into time frames. Short term, 3 years; medium term, 3 to 5; long term, 5 to 20. So maybe somebody was saying they want to buy their home. They want to get out of debt to buy a home. Maybe in 5 years, I want to be able to get out of debt. I want to pay off my this credit to be able to put this much aside for my home, right? So be very specific about your goals, how you want to get out of debt, how you're going to get there. Don't just leave it up to chance, because that, again, very rarely happens. Now, again, like I was talking about, one of the things for getting that successful plan to tackle your debt is, again, creating that budget. And this is just kind of a simple list of ways to budget. Of course, there's a lot more that goes into budgeting, but this is kind of just a little list of it. When you build your budget, you want to first, again, identify your goals. What are those? If you want to get out of debt, you want to buy a house, identify your income, list your expenses, including savings and debt. Always include those as well. Compare your income and expenses, make your spending plan, and then review the results and make changes. Now, let me tell you, when you're creating like a budget to figure out your goals of getting out of debt, your budget is not set in stone. It's not a one thing fits all. It's not you figure out your budget and then you're done, right? No, I would say definitely revisit your budget every couple, maybe 2 to 3 months to say, hey, am I making progress on this goal that I have? If not, where do I need to tweak my budget? Where do I need to cut back maybe in other areas so that I can successfully achieve this goal that I want to achieve by tackling this debt, right? So that's just a couple of different things to think of. Now, one of the things you could do with your budget as well, of course, is try and maybe increase your income. You're saying, okay, great, Ruth. But of course, there's a couple of options. You could do like maybe ask for overtime, get a side hustle. There's a lot of people, especially now, doing side hustles like Uber Eats, like DoorDash and things like that. And I knew this couple actually one time, and the wife, I was talking to the wife, and she is saying that her and her husband wanted to remodel the kitchen. Now, who on this call, on this webinar, has ever remodeled a kitchen? Whoo! Hard, long process, lots of money, right? Just marriages break up. Just it's a lot of something, something. So with remodeling, so what she and her husband did, they're like, you know what? We've heard horror stories. We don't want to get into debt over this. So what they did is they actually they had, by the way, they had 3 little boys at home. They had their mother watch the little boys, and they figured out, okay, they're going to do sections of their kitchen. So they took the cabinets first, apparently the biggest one. They took their cabinets, they figured out how much they're going to need to have in terms of finances for their remodeling their cabinets first. So they figured out how much they did with that. And they figured out, okay, you know what, we're going to get a job with, like, I think it was DoorDash or something like that. So on the weekends, they went together and they did DoorDash on every single weekend. And as soon as they got the money to do this, then they did that project. They took about 3 months, couple or no, 3 weeks off or something like that. And then they did another project. Okay, the countertops. How much is this going to cost? We're going to do DoorDash for 3 months to be able to get this amount in our pockets so we can do this project. So instead of going into debt over it, they took that kind of control back to themselves and they said, this is how we're going to do it so we don't have to go back into debt, right? So I actually thought that was a really good idea. I thought that was genius. I love that idea. And they did it together, right? So get a better paying job, get a side hustle, sell your stuff. Oh my gosh, there's so many places you can sell your stuff nowadays. But some people need to take drastic measures when you're thinking about especially paying off debt. Can you sell your stuff every maybe season to get rid of some things you don't use, things like that. You could also try to decrease your spending, trying to get out of debt as well. That's a factor. Think about ways to cut back. Like I was saying, whenever you're taking a look at your budget, especially when it comes to getting out of debt, um, take a look at your budget. Think of ways where you can cut back. Now, notice I didn't say cut out, because cutting out, I'm sorry, but going cold turkey doesn't ever really work, does it? Has anyone ever actually succeeded at going cold turkey? Yeah, no, I don't think so. I can't do it. It's like I think it was a Monday. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I thought to myself, you're giving up sugar. It's a crutch. It's bad. You're not going to ever do it. I think it took me 3 hours to go to the large, like the nearest grocery store. No, it was a gas station. It took me 3 hours to run down to the gas station, get me that giant sized Snicker bar, just plow through that thing. So again, cold turkey rarely ever works. Now, one thing when you're looking at decreasing your spending, again, take a look at your wants versus your needs. But one of the things I love is keeping a spending diary. This is one of the things that really helps a lot, people a lot when they're looking at their budget in order to take down their debt a lot more, right? So look at your spending diary. Take about 30 days. And what you do is in 30 days, for 30 days, write down every single thing you possibly purchased. Did you buy a bag of chips? Did you buy a coffee? What did you buy a pair of shoes? Whatever it is. Write it down, and after 30 days, you're actually going to see where your spending goes, right? Where your money actually goes. That is really helpful because it not only helps your budget because you figure out, oh, this is what I'm spending my money on. Now, we all have a relative idea of where our money goes, but if you look at 30 days and you see, okay, and you highlight those areas of kind of maybe concern of, oh, I need to take this down a bit, or I can have a little bit of wiggle room here, right? This is going to help a lot. I did this with coffee once for 30 days, and I found that I thought I spent $30 on coffee a month. I spent $200 on coffee a month, which was an eye-opener, mainly, because pastries. But it was $300 a month, so that spending diary really, really helped. Use cash only. One thing with getting out of debt we find is that if you can use cash only, sometimes that's helpful. But it also depends on the person. My coworker, she loves this program. She uses envelope system. Have you heard of that before, where you budget using envelopes? You take like 6 different envelopes and you write on one envelope food and you let's see, groceries, gas, car, and every time you get paid, you put the money in the envelopes, and then whenever the money's gone in the envelope, you're done for the month, right? So it really forces you to budget. Now, she uses cash. If she brings her credit card or her debit card, she tells me that she will just plow right through it. But if she brings cash, it actually does something to your brain. Whenever you hand over money to somebody, cash, it actually hurts. There's a little thing in your brain they said that actually hurts, right? So that's an option. Now for me, that would be terrible because if I have cash in my pocket, I'm gonna plow through it. I'm just gonna be like, right? Oh, I want to get rid of the money because I don't like using money, cash. But if I use my card, I can see my transactions. I know what's happening. So that's a little easier. So it depends on where you're at with that. Have no spend days. Now, this is one of those things where if you could maybe take, like, how, again, I was guilty of this, 5 days a week, got my Starbucks, right? Instead of going cold turkey, I gave myself no spend days. So it was Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, no coffee out, had to bring my stuff to work. Tuesdays, Thursdays, I brought myself a nice little hot cup of joe, right? So having no spend days, freeze your cards. So this is one of those things that's a tough one. This is an option when you're thinking about your debt too, is freezing your cards. So you don't use them. Now, you could literally freeze them in a bucket of water. My coworker did this. She was like, I gotta do it. You could freeze your cards. You could literally freeze your cards, tell the creditor I need to freeze my card that way. You could take the 24-hour rule when you are thinking about spending. Do I need to buy this item if I'm thinking about getting out of debt, or do I want to put it on hold, think about it for 24 hours, and then think, do I really need this? And if I do, come back and get it, or if not, it's gone, right? Leave your cards at home. If you are tempted with your credit cards, don't bring them. Don't bring them. Put them away. Keep them at home. If you don't want to eat chocolate, don't put a big giant plate of chocolate in front of you, right? If you don't want to use your cards, leave them at home. Put them somewhere where you're not going to use them. Now, this one's going to hurt my Amazon friends. Delink cards from online merchants. Oh, I know. I just said it. I know, it hurt to say it, but you know what I'm talking about. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You're on the couch watching Reba. You're watching something, and you are like, I say that because I watch it too much. So you're watching Reba. You're like on the phone, and you're like, oh, these are so cute, cute pair of shoes. Click. Oh, okay. I'll think of. You literally just bought your pair of shoes in 2 seconds because with this online merchant, of which we all know about, your card is linked up to the account, so you can buy it instantaneously, which is an amazing thing, right? To be able to do. Our grandparents would be like, "What? That's incredible." Here's the thing: if you don't link your credit cards or your cards from that online merchant, this will actually force you to get, if you really want the item, to get up off the couch wherever you're at, go find your debit card, go put those numbers into to purchase this item, and let me tell you, those 3 extra steps are going to stop you or help stop you from making that purchase. You know what I'm talking about? Hand raised if you know what I'm talking about. If you delink, thank you very much. If you delink your cards, it definitely stops. It definitely, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of lazy with that. If I, I mean, come on, people. If I have to get up off the couch and get my card, I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. So delinking cards from merchants is actually a great way to back off spending, right? Now, let me get back into the real debt area too. When you're thinking about your debt and getting reducing your debt, one of the biggest things I would love for you all to do is check your credit report. Now, hands up if you have checked your credit report within the last year. Check hands raised if you check your credit report in the last year. Oh, I'm loving these hands. That's great. Love that. Okay. Now, I want to show you a place where you can get those credit reports. If you haven't seen those, that's okay if you haven't, but that's great if you have. The place I would go check your credit reports is the only official website to get all 3 credit reports for free. And this is one of those fantastic spots. It's called annualcreditreport.com. And this is one of those places that really, it's, again, only official website, so it's set up by the government to be able to get these reports to you for free. And again, you get all 3 credit reports for free. So you have, back up. You've got Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Now, it used to be where you only get these credit reports once per calendar year. Now, because of COVID, I think I just went there not too long ago, they're actually giving you reports once per week, which is amazing. So take advantage of that for sure, so you can get that, and so you can look at those. And first of all, the reason I want you to look at those mainly is I want you to look at all of the debt that you have. I want you to make sure that you know exactly what's on your credit report, what's reporting, if there's any errors that's on there, but more so, what are the amounts that you have, what are the status of the loans you're in, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But check your reports annually, if not weekly right now, right? Another thing you want to factor in when you're thinking about reducing your debt is you really want to look at know your debt to income ratio. Now, what this is, especially like for instance, one person was saying they want to reduce their debt so that they can get a home someday. One of their goals is to buy a home, right? So one of the things you want to do is really look at this know your debt to income ratio. Now, it says that financial problems are more likely to occur when your DTI is above 20%, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, how do you figure out your DTI? Well, you take your total monthly minimum payments, just the minimum payments that you owe. You divide it by your monthly take-home pay, sorry, got an accent. Multiply it by 100 and you will have your debt to income ratio. So for instance, if you look here, let's say our total monthly minimum payments are $2,000 a month. That's what they equal out to. Your monthly take-home pay is $4,750. This is after taxes, so you're literally your take-home pay. Multiply it by 100. So this person's their debt to income is, or DTI is 42.1%. Now, DTI is one of those acronyms that you're going to hear a lot if you're applying for loans and things like that. But it's also just good kind of gauger to see where you're at financially. So this is kind of one of those good kind of calculations to do. Again, 20% and above, it's like, ooh, you might want to get yourself down a little bit, right? So that's kind of a good idea. And lenders like to see, depending on the loan you're going for, like if you're going for a house, some lenders like to see like you're in that 20 to 40% range. So that's kind of a good indication too of your financial kind of health, right? So keep that in mind as well. Now, one of the things I want to talk about real quick is, of course, debt payoff strategy, because this is one of the reasons you're here, right? So let's talk a little bit about debt payoff strategies. When you're looking at reducing your debt, one of the biggest things I want you all to do is write them down. Write down any debts that you have. If you owe your sister 200 bucks from 10 years ago, you know it's still in the back of your head, and you're going to think about it for the rest of your entire life until you pay her off. So write down the creditor that you owe. Write down the balance. Write down the monthly payment. Now, this could be the minimum payment or the if you pay a little bit extra. My grandpa always said, pay a little bit more extra on your debts. So I always did. So you have a little bit more extra. Put that down here. Put the due date and especially the interest rate. So especially interest rate. So many people do not know what the interest rate is on their loans. This is one of the biggest factor when you're looking at your debt payoff strategies as well. So look at the interest rate. One time I actually, when I first started working in the finance industry, I remember I was working in a branch, and this one person, lady came in, and she had a credit card, and she had used this credit card all through college. She had paid it, pay it off, use it, pay it off, use it, and she had a picture of her beloved cat on this picture. I remember this very well. And she loved this cat of hers very, very much. And she comes in, she doesn't know her interest rate on her card. She applies for a new card, and she was approved. And I told her, she said, do you know what the interest rate is on my old card? And I said, it looks like it was 35%. 35%. Just bear with me. Whew. And she was, apparently this was one of her first, the first credit card that she had right in college. And it was very high, which is normal, well, it's not that normal to have that high, but it was pretty high. But she made payments on time, so she actually got when she was approved for the better rate. Like we'll say it's like 6%, right? Now she literally looked at me and she said, great, that's wonderful. Now I can, don't have to have such a high interest rate. But can you put my picture of my cat on on the new card? And I said, oh, sorry, we don't have that ability to do that. That's something that's, we just don't have that ability with our cards. We just have the traditional cards. Longest 2 minutes of my life. She looked at this and she was looking at her old card with her cat. She was thinking about the new card with the very low interest rate. Which one do you think she chose? Tell me in the chat. Which card do you think she chose? Do you think she chose to keep her old card with the cat? Or do you think she chose the new card with the lower interest rate? What do you think? Tell me in the chat. Oh! Oh, the cat. It was the cat card. She chose the cat card. And I just think my jaw dropped thinking, oh, really? That's it? You're going to save money with lower interest, but okay. Right? Yeah, so she chose the cat. Not going to lie. But yeah, so again, that whole long story of this is the reason why you want to make sure that you know your interest rates on your cards. Now, question number 2 is which debt would you pay off kind of first or faster? If you're looking at these debts, what do you think what would their first inclination to be? Which debt would you try to tackle the fastest? Tell me in the chat. Some people are bad at math. That's funny. Credit card, yes. Yep. Why the credit card? So I'm seeing a lot of credit cards with highest interest rate. Yep. A lot of people are saying credit card with a higher interest rate. Very good. Yep. Very good. Yep, a lot of people say that one for sure. There are a couple different types of payoff strategies, and I want to show you a couple different kinds. Now, this type of debt payoff strategy is actually called the debt snowball. This one was coined by, I want to say, Dave Ramsey, and he actually came to this kind of strategy. And actually, again, like I was saying, I was in debt over my eyeballs right after college, and I was thinking, I always had this $500 Macy's card. It was always Macy's, and it never came down. Like I paid the minimum amount, and then of course used it again. Um, but with a debt snowball, you really want to, this is kind of a cool idea. What you do is you list all your debts from smallest balance to largest, right? So this really focuses on your smallest balance. What you do is you pay the minimum payment on every debt except the smallest debt. So you pay as much as you can towards that smallest debt until it's paid off. So basically what happens is you are gaining momentum. So let me go back here real quick. So if you take a look at your debt in this area, and let's say the smallest bill with the lowest balance is going to be your medical bill, right? Exactly. So $3,000 for your medical bill. It still has a 12% interest rate. But with this one, let's say for instance that instead of just paying this is maybe you pay 20 extra dollars. Let's say you pay 50 extra dollars a month towards each one of these debts, right? Which is great. But let's say you pay $50 extra, you've already budgeted $975 a month to go towards each one of these debts, right? So that's how much you've budgeted. So instead of paying that $50 extra on each one of these debts, let's say you take that $50 from here, $50 from here and here, and you apply that 50, 100, $150, and you apply it towards the medical bill. You continue to pay the minimum debt on each one of those other debts, but you're putting that extra towards the medical bill. So instead of paying $250 a month, which is going to take you a while to get down, you're now paying, please let my math be right, $400. Now you're paying $400 a month to get this medical bill down, right? So now you're going to pay it off in definitely a faster time frame. So that's kind of the idea of this debt snowball. When you do that, it's really cool because it actually lets your bill come down fast, of course, faster, but it gives you that kind of momentum. And there's a reason they called it a snowball because a snowball's like running down the hill and it's sliding down the hill and it's gaining momentum and getting bigger and bigger. It's kind of the same idea. The debt snowball allows you to pay these off faster. You are going to see them come off and you're going to get that confidence like, okay, I can do this. Finally, that Macy's bill came off. I'm never going to do that thing again, right? So that's kind of the idea of debt snowball. Now, another one is you have the debt snowball. Now you also have the debt avalanche. Now this is kind of the same basic concept. So I want to talk about this real quick. The debt avalanche is very much similar to the debt snowball. It's just taking the debt with the highest interest rate, right? So you take basically again the debt with the highest interest rate. You pay the minimum payment on every other debt, except for you put that little bit extra towards the debt with the highest interest rate. Okay. Once that debt's paid off, then you repeat the process by paying as much as you can towards the next highest interest run. Okay. So basically, again, you are looking at the loan with the highest interest rate, so it would be the credit card debt. So you put a little bit extra towards that one. Again, have that debt paid off faster. Now, in the long run, this is going to save you more money with the debt avalanche because you're paying off the loan with the highest interest rate. So that's one of the little perks about this. But with the debt snowball, again, you're going to have that more confidence of, okay, I can see this money coming down, right? All right, the third strategy that you're going to see out there, the third strategy you're going to see is the debt cascade. The debt cascade. I don't know why all these have to do with freezing cold water, but the debt cascade, getting cold. For this one, you list all your debts, including the minimum monthly payments. And as your minimum monthly payment decreases, you continue to pay the original minimum payment owed. Now, how this works, I remember I got my first car that I bought from a dealership, and of course you're paying like maybe $250 payments. You're paying this, maybe you have a 5-year loan, and you're paying this for 4 years, and on the 5th year, the lender's like, oh, congratulations, you've made your payments on time. We're so proud of you. We are your best friend. We want to give you some money back in your pocket. So what they're going to say is your minimum payments have now lowered to $125. Don't do it, right? Avoid, abort, don't do it. Continue to pay the $250 because you're still paying interest and it's going to actually take you longer to pay that off. They're doing it so that they can make more money off of the loan. Don't do it, right? So those are the 3 types of payoff strategies. I highly encourage you take one of those strategies, try it. If you don't like it, try the other payoff strategy. Whatever works for you. I'm always in the camp of try one, and if it fails or not fails, but if it doesn't work for you, try the other strategies. See what actually does work for you. Now, there's lots of tools out there to do things like just this. Like, for instance, whoever you're with financially, a financial institution, if you're with like a credit union or bank, whatever you're with, usually they'll have some type of like budgeting tool. And usually in those budgeting tools, they'll have like the area where they'll show you the like they'll usually have a debt payoff strategy area. Hopefully they do. So for instance, BECU has one of those, and they have, and it actually shows you different strategies, how much it'll actually cost or save you when you use a different debt payoff strategy. So check out your financial institution, see if they have a debt payoff strategy kind of calculator that can help you too. Now, oh, sorry, let me back up here real quick. I'm going to go through this one. There we go. Now, there's a couple different options when you're dealing with debt. Now, a couple different things I want to kind of preface with the saying, not every option to deal with debt is the best, right? You want to be very careful about how you deal with getting out of debt. First of all, of course, look at the debt payoff strategies that work for you. There's credit counseling services out there. Now, sometimes you just need a hand to hold when you are getting out of debt because it's overwhelming sometimes, right? It is very overwhelming. Credit counseling services are great because you can talk to somebody. The caveat to that is you want to choose a good, I would say a not-for-profit credit counseling service. There's like Clearwater Credit Counseling Service. There's definitely definite counseling services, but make sure they're not-for-profit so they're not robbing you blind, right? Debt consolidation services, debt negotiation, bankruptcies, those are of course all options to deal with that. Not some of them are good, some of them are last resort. These are just options to deal with your debt. You want to be careful with these different options, of course. There are definitely places you do not want to go to help alleviate some of your debt, and those could be places like credit repair companies. Be very careful of companies that promise you that they're going to repair your credit. We actually spoken to one gentleman. He was saying, you know, I went to one of those credit repair companies, and they said they were going to be able to give me a brand new Social Security number and help me get out of debt. Did you just hear what I said? They were going to give me a brand new Social Security number to get me out of debt. Not something you want to do, right? Not legal. So be very careful. Don't get into places like this. Payday loans, pawn shops, tax refund lenders. Be careful of these options when you're trying to get out of debt because they may not be the best option for you for sure. Now, if you are dealing with debt collectors, if you have debt right now that you're just, again, way over your head and you're thinking, how am I going to do this? And you have debt collectors calling you, know your rights as a consumer, as a borrower, right? If a debt collector calls you, I remember, unfortunately, when I was little, my debt collectors would call all the time, and my parents would be like, "Oh, don't answer it. Don't answer the phone." I don't think we could ever answer the phone, so now I just don't answer my phone because I've been bred to do that, right? So be very careful. But a debt collector cannot call repeatedly to harass or abuse you. They can't use obscene language. They can't use false or misleading statements. They can't publish your name for paying a debt, and they can't lie to you, right? So know your rights as a consumer when it comes to debt collectors as well. And then also, if you find that you're being maybe harassed by a debt collector, or you're like, look, I paid this off, maybe it's a scam, but know that you, again, know your rights. You can complain to the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, if a debt collector calls you too much or is harassing you. You can file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. You could file a complaint with the state's Attorney General, the Better Business Bureau. So you can do things to stop them from harassing you for sure. All right, so that was a lot of information on that. Let me know if you have any questions. Now we're going to go into the top 10 tips for reducing debt. Number
I
one.
will say, Ruth,
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
want to cut you off, but we do have some hands. Do you want to
Oh,
get to some of those now, or
yes.
do you want to
Oh,
wait?
sure. No, we can definitely do that now.
Tracy, I see your hands up. Oh, my hand went down. And I
Oh,
know there were a few others, so I'll keep an eye out
oh,
for those.
I'm
Otherwise, I
wondering.
guess we can
Oh,
just
go
get
ahead.
to them at the end too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. We can hold them for the end for sure. So number one, pay yourself first. Now this may be awkward and you're really thinking, look, I'm trying to get out of debt. I want to put money towards my debt, not towards my savings. And one of the biggest questions I think we usually get is, do I put money towards my savings or do I put money towards my debt if I want to get out of debt? Which one do I do? The quick answer is both, right? I would always say if you are in debt and you want to get out of debt, do not stop putting money away into savings. The biggest thing here is because if you are, let's say, maxed out on all your credit cards, and let's say one of your you are driving around town and you have not put money in your savings, you're just trying to pay off your credit cards now, your tire blows on your car. Where are you going to get the money for your tires to blow on, or where are you going to get the money to replace the tire, right? Well, if you don't have any money in your savings, you're going to have to buy them on credit, right? And that just puts you back into that cycle again. So when you think about paying, number one, paying yourself first, make savings a priority. Put some money into savings as well as putting money towards your debt. Make it a monthly savings goal, right? The first thing I want you to think of before you even pay your bills is put money towards savings. Budget how much you can put towards savings. If it's $10 a month, do it, whatever it is, but make it savings a priority. Make it like a mandatory expense, almost like a bill. Use automatic transfers. One of the coolest things I've ever seen people do is set up an automatic transfer. So whenever you get paid, money goes from your checking account to your savings account. So you don't even think about it anymore. You just know that that's how much you have to save every single month. Number two, renegotiating or refinancing with debts with your credit. One thing you could do and is contact the creditors to renegotiate the loan. Now, I know like 15 years ago, we could call up our credit card company and say, hey, can you lower my rate? Some lenders will do that. Some will not. The worst I could say is no. But you could also refinance for a better rate a lot of times with your loan. So if you have a 35% credit card, shop around. Look for a place that could do a balance transfer that you don't, where you're not getting 35%. If you max out that card, you can get a lower rate while you're paying that off, right? So you're saving yourself a lot more money. I love that. You can also have your direct deposit set up to have a portion go directly to your savings. This has been a hugely helpful. Oh my goodness, yes. You can set that up, a direct deposit to go to another financial or to your financial institution. I know people who've done this who they've actually opened up a separate savings account at a financial institution where there's only one branch somewhere in like Podunkville, right? It's like way far out there and they can't get to it. They can't get to it at all. And that's what they want to do because it can just put money into it and it's collecting money in their savings account, but they can't touch it, right? Some of us need that, right? All right, I love that. Um, find another way to save the cat photo. That's fantastic. So refinancing for a better rate for sure when you're looking at paying off your debt. Sorry about that. I'm going to, there we go. Monitor your credit. So again, like I was saying, check your credit reports annually, at least once per calendar year. Definitely doing this. Oh, I love that. More ideas about saving where you can't touch it. Yes. So one thing I would highly recommend with savings is actually CDs. I don't know if you've ever heard about CDs, but CDs are what's called certificates of deposits. Those are great. I love these, and I specifically love that there's two different kinds of CDs. There's actually a traditional CD where you take a chunk of money and you put it into a CD and you lock that money up for like 3 months to 5 years, whatever it is, and you can't touch it. Another idea is actually called an add to CD. An add to CD where and most financial institutions have these. You set up how much you want to transfer to that CD every month. So for instance, you could do $25, whatever it is. Let's take 50 bucks. You can transfer 50 bucks into that CD every month. It locks it up for a certain amount of time, however long you want to lock it up for. And so you can't touch it, literally. Now, so, I mean, theoretically, you could touch it if you wanted to, but you're going to lose a lot of the interest that you already gained from that. CDs sometimes will make more money on like than savings account traditionally on like yours things like that. But those are a fantastic way to save money. Yes. Oh yeah, short-term CDs for future vacations. Love that. A lot of people use CDs for like holiday shopping, like holiday budgets. Like they save $50 per month. They put that in their holiday CD. They'll literally nickname it holiday CD. And then at the end of the year, then that's when their money they can pull that out and that's all they have to budget for that holiday, right? So CDs are a great one for taking vacations. You know, this is my vacation CD. This is my car CD, right? Whatever you need to do. It's a great way to, especially for people who weren't born savers like me, they're great to kind of force you to save. So wonderful thing right there. Yeah, thanks for asking that question. Appreciate it. So let me go back real quick. So check your reports annually. Annualcreditreport.com once per calendar year. Check for errors. One of the biggest things, especially when you're trying to get out of debt, is you want to make sure that all of your credit information is correct. If there's information on those reports that's not correct, you want to dispute that information right online at those credit bureaus' websites. So check those out. Make sure there's no errors. Um, avoid new debt. So if one of our goals is to get out of debt, do not apply for any other types of debt. I know it sounds silly, but so many people do this. They're like, well, I'll just open up another one while I'm paying this one off. Why? Why do we do this to ourselves? We know we're going to use it, just don't do it, right? Like I was saying, this actually isn't the real picture, but my coworker, she loves purses. She took her credit card with her to buy this purse, and she was going to buy it. She loves it. It's like $200 purse, and she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So she went home. She took a little bucket of water, took a little bucket, put some water into it. Literally put her credit card, just like the picture, in the bucket of water, froze it, put it in the freezer. So she went out a couple weeks later, saw another purse she loved, came home, got the bucket of ice, got her hair dryer, and started, trying to, get that thing, get the credit card unfrozen. I think she got down to about halfway, and she was like, "That's it, not worth it." So you gotta do what you gotta do. If you are serious about getting out of debt, I know this one lady, she actually cut up her credit cards and put them in the bottom of her kitty litter. So do what you have to do. Cut them up. Here's the thing. If you cut your credit cards up, you can always get a replacement once you've gotten those down to a more manageable level. All right. Um, Good question. So one question came in is, what if your credit card is correct? Sorry, credit report is correct. Then you want to add an explanation like, I was married, he did this, I didn't know, technically my debt, but divorced now and making every payment consistently. So there's actually a area on your credit reports where you can put a personal statement. Now you can put whatever you want in there. A lot of people use that for, I've recently maybe been divorced. I went through a divorce for dividing the assets, things like that, still making payments. So you can put stuff in that section. Maybe I just went through a bankruptcy, had too much medical debt, blah blah. Lots of stuff you can put in there. So lenders will look at that section. They're not going to put a huge weight on it when they are like making decisions about giving you a loan for like a home loan, but they are going to be looking at that. So there is that section in your credit report that actually says financial statements. So you can put that in there. That's a good idea. Um, Good question. What's a good place to check our credit scores? Oh, good. So myfico.com is really good, and I'll put this right in here. It's myfico.com. That's a good one. Now, this is a place where that's to get your FICO score, and it does charge you. So annualcreditreport.com is literally free to get your reports. Myfico.com is not free. They actually are going to charge you to get your reports, but you don't have to see your reports every single day or week or month. They'll say if you want to see it for like 3 months. A lot of lenders, I'm sorry, a lot of financial institutions are letting you see your report or your credit card, I'm sorry, your credit score now for free as well. You could also go to, yeah, one person was asking, what do you think about Credit Karma? So I was interested in Credit Karma. I was like, okay, is this free? What is this? Because there are lots of companies that say, of course, free service. And of course, when I say it's free, of course it's free. Yeah, no. But like for instance, freecreditreport.com. If you've ever heard that, it's not free to get your credit report. It's actually an account monitoring service, and they'll charge you something like $30 a month to make sure that your credit report is doing great, something you could actually do for free. So Credit Karma is actually free. They just try to, they promote different credit cards for you and things like that, but they do give you a score. It may be a little bit different than your FICO score, might look a little bit different. So just know that they're using a little bit different scoring model that you may find different from your actual FICO score. You can actually get like you'll see maybe yeah, let me back up. So lots of financial institutions are offering their customers or members to see their credit score. Like BECU now, you can see your credit score right online very easily in your online banking. So check your online banking. They may already have that. A lot of places, like if you have credit cards already, like I think Discover does this, you can check your credit score, things like that. So yes, Credit Karma is free. It's actually a decent website. I enjoy that too. Yeah, good question. All right. Number 5, make a plan for debt payoff strategy. Choose your debt payoff strategy. Check if you want to do, again, list your debts, list your how much your balance is, your interest rate, your due date, and things like that, and then choose your debt payoff strategy. If you want to go with the debt snowball, debt avalanche, debt cascade, choose one of those cold options, right? And try it. Stick to it as much as you can. Try to stick to it. I'm telling you, it is going to make a big difference when you try those debt payoff strategies, because then you feel like yourself, I'm not just leaving my debt, paying off my debt to chance, right? I'm not just saying someday it's going to happen. You're putting a plan around it. Number 6, set attainable goals. One of the things with your goals, especially, is to be as specific as you possibly can. Set a time frame around it, like we were talking about. Have accountability. This is one of those things too, where when attainable goals is the big key. You want to make your goals challenging enough that they keep you interested, that you're working towards them, but you don't want to make your goals unrealistic. For instance, you don't want to be like, I'm going to pay off my 50,000 credit card in 2 months. Unless you've got an incredibly great paying job and you can pay that thing off in 2 months, that's great. But then you're kind of just setting yourself up, right? So set those goals, make them attainable, write them down. Statistically, it's actually proven that if you write your goals down, if you give your goals a time frame, if you write them down, you're more likely to achieve them than if you don't. Put them on a sticky note. In 5 years, I'm going to have my debt paid down, this paid off, this paid off, this paid off, right? In 3 months, this debt's going to come down. In 6 months, is right. Make it as specific as you can. Number 7, avoid quick fixes. Be very careful with saying, you know what, I don't know what to do. I need help. And be careful of going to the wrong kinds of places. Be cautious of debt settlement services. Sometimes if you go to a debt settlement, or if you go through debt settlement, it could hurt your credit. Creditors may not accept the offer. There's also maybe some tax implications and some fees, of course, with the company. Um, be careful of debt consolidation as well. Some people are like, well, I've got 10 different credit cards, I've got this and this and this, and I need one lump sum payment. Well, sometimes those can be helpful, but you could be in debt longer is the thing, right? So instead of having 5 different debts, you now have one large debt, which may take you longer to pay off. There's no guarantee your interest rate is going to be lowered if you go through something like debt consolidation. And the thing, unfortunately, that we find is a lot of people, if they choose debt consolidation and they just pay one lump sum, they actually, once they pay that off and they're debt free, they actually go right back into debt, and even more so than they were before. Mostly because the behavior has not changed around spending, right? We still look at those 10 for 10 items. We still will go emotional shopping. We still do whatever we want to do. So be careful with that consolidation. That could be a little tricky as well. Number 8, create that realistic budget when you're looking at reducing debt. Again, it really does boil down to your budget. Have you budgeted enough to get out of debt? Have you budgeted, have you told yourself that you're going to go out to eat less and put that money towards paying off that $500 credit card that you have? Creating a realistic budget is really one of the big keys here. Cash versus credit. When using credit, again, if you are serious about reducing your debt, take drastic measures if you have to. Cut up those credit cards. Only use cash when you want to spend something. If you want to buy, if you're looking at a flat screen TV, 50-inch, whatever it is, instead of using your credit card, save up for it, right? Make sure that you have put a plan around it. Or if you're going to use a credit card, make sure that you have a plan to pay it off in 3 months so you're not just leaving it up to chance, right? To pay this thing off. There's this thing, actually, I'll hold on to that for a second. So use cash versus credit whenever you possibly can. Make more, and sorry, let me go back. Cash versus credit meaning use your debit card instead of your credit card because you have your own money when you're trying to get out of debt, especially. And then number 10, make more or spend less. Of course, this is one of those things, but again, reprioritizing your budget is really key when you're thinking about getting out of debt, especially applying, and then apply that newfound money to your debts, right? A lot of times, usually this time of year, maybe you're going to be getting a merit increase, or maybe you're going to be getting a bonus, or whatever it is. Maybe you got a new job and you're in a different bracket financially now. Instead of spending at that new limit, maybe continue spending at your old limit and put that newfound or money back into your debt so you can pay those off. And then last but not least, don't give up. You all have come here for a reason. You all are taking steps, really great steps to be able to say, you know what? I'm kind of tired of being in debt. I want to have more freedom with my money so I can do the things I want to do instead of paying off the things I need to pay off, right? Instead of paying for that vacation 5 or 10 years later. So don't give up. It is being debt free, reducing your debt is possible. You just have to make those steps, small steps, which create a big difference. And then one of my favorite goals or quotes I just love is a goal without a plan is just a wish. We love wishing for things, but if you want to make it a goal, put a plan around it first. All right. I am going to stop there. This is our email address, our department email address. If you have any questions, I'm going to open it up for questions now. We've got some great questions so far, but Anna, I'm going to hand it back over to you if you have any questions. I hope that was helpful for everybody. I hope we got some good tips. And let me know if you have any questions as well about debt or budgeting or anything like that. We're definitely here for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruth. I'm going to keep an eye here on the chat to see what
Oh,
questions
great.
are coming in. I just wanted to say it's always really great how refreshing you are talking about these topics. I
Oh,
know for
yeah.
everyone, it can be difficult things to talk about. So
Oh,
it's helpful to come to a space where it's like, these things happen
yes.
and we're going to work through it. Lillian, go ahead. I see your hand is raised.
Yes, I was. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was jotting down the numbers and the tips.
Mm.
And when I got to number 9 and 10, I didn't actually get the last couple.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
And
Nine
Ruth,
cash versus, and I can send out the slides for sure if you
that's
want me to.
great. If you can send
Yeah,
me a copy, I'll make sure
Oh,
everyone
please
gets
do.
them.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
okay.
Oh,
Sounds
yeah.
great.
Yeah, definitely. I'm impressed you wrote them all down. I would get,
Well,
yeah,
I used the
definitely.
notepad here on the computer.
That's awesome. Perfect. Well, yeah, I'll send those out to you. And I'll also send the survey and the slides as well for sure. So you can have that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bettina?
Yeah, thank you. I had a question about what the concept of using credit cards to pay like your regular like monthly bills and then paying them
Mm,
off at the end of the
mm,
month to
mm-hmm.
like get those like bonuses or whatever like flight miles and stuff like that.
Works. Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. So I have to say, I was when I first started, I was like, oh no, not getting caught into that trap. I was one of those people who didn't like that. However, my husband, actually, when we got married, he did that, use that concept. I thought, okay, so I'm actually not, I used to be not a big fan of it, but a lot of times it just boils down to the person. If you can use a credit card, and a lot of people do this, of course, we use our credit cards to pay off our bills each month. And then at the end, you can just pay that off. And you can just pay that money off, and then you won't have to pay any interest. That's the biggest kicker. If you can pay your bills with a credit card, and you're earning the points and things like that for like airline miles, that's great. But the kicker is to pay that off at the end of the month. That's the big thing. Credit card companies actually have a word for people who have paid off their bills in full each month. They actually call them deadbeats because the companies aren't making any money off of them. Because if you pay off your cards in full, the credit card companies can't make any money off of you. So I think it's great if you are paying it off every single month. That's fantastic. But the one thing you want to be really careful of is the if there's any annual fees, and that's the biggest thing. Is the annual fee worth it to have that card and use it that way? If it is, that's fantastic for sure. Yeah, good
Thanks,
question. Thank
Ruth.
you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bettina? Okay, looks like not. So there was another question that was in the chat a little bit earlier, and I
Yeah.
know you already covered this, but maybe just another real quick summary is the ideas about savings where you can't touch it.
Mm-hmm. So you got CDs. So CDs are a great way to do not touch your savings. Again, like I was saying, I know people who've opened up, they've got an account at one financial institution and they literally open up an account like somewhere else that first of all is not going to charge them fees to have that account. Biggest thing. If you want to open up another savings account somewhere, there make sure they don't charge you money to have that savings account, then just defeats the purpose. But opening in that another place. Another thing too is this is what I do. So at depending on your financial institution, like BECU, you can open as many savings accounts as you want to for free. And what I do is this is gonna sound weird, but I have like 5 different savings accounts. Okay, seven, like 7 different savings accounts, and I nickname them. And I actually can hide those accounts from myself. So I make it a automatic transfer to go from my checking to my savings every month, and I hide that account so I can't see it in my online banking, and you can't see it on your phone app. So it's just a little easier to be like, it's not there. The money's just going in. I'm not even going to think about it. So CDs are a good thing. Automatic transfers and hiding those accounts from yourself can be nice, and also opening up different accounts at different places are really good too. So those are good ones.
Thanks, Ruth. All right, I'm looking through and not many other questions are coming in. I'll give it about a minute here, a few seconds in case there's any typing. But just again, thanks so much. I hope you're seeing lots of kudos in the chat. And just so everyone knows, BECU is a wonderful sponsor of the Whole U. A lot of what we do is possible because of their sponsorship. So it's always great to have you come present and also just your support of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Not seeing any other questions. So I think with that, we'll close. As I said, this is being recorded, so we'll cut it down and we'll get it up. And Ruth will send me the slides so I can email it to everyone who registered. Hope you guys have a great afternoon. And thanks so much, Ruth.
Oh, absolutely. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.